Hello, this is Dean Phoenix, continuing with my current playthrough, which is playing The Witcher 3 on Deathmatch on a low-level New Game Plus game. So, I should have posted the first episode by now, but as I said at the end of that episode, I wanted to get a close to full Nilfgaardian Gwent deck and do some of that offline. So, the thing about the Nilfgaardian Gwent deck is it's fantastic when you've got the spies for it. It's probably the best best deck in the game with the Northern Realms. Northern Realms is a little simpler, a little easier to play, but it's vulnerable in different ways, even though it is pretty straightforward, awesome deck. The Nilfgaard deck is a bit more complex, a lot of fun to play, revolves all around spies, so it does end up having quite longer games, but it's very versatile and a lot of fun. And so I fancied playing Nilfgaard and seeing if we could be strong enough from the start with the Nilfgaard deck to not use the Northern Realms at all after the first game. So that's what I've actually done in this one, but because I did a lot of Gwent in my Deathmatch No Armor playthrough, which you can find on my YouTube, I have in fact just done this one with Nilfgaard from the start and done a lot of that off stream, because the way that you get the 3 spies, I've got 2 of them so far, and the way that you get those spies is as random wins. So what I did was I saved. There are 3 players, Joanna, Fergus and the Quartermaster, in very close proximity in Crow's Perch. So I went and saved there. And I replayed, reloaded. It took quite a few times, but I did that until I could get a couple of the spies. So I've just got 1 spy left to get. And the deck is now usable, even though it's nowhere near the finished product. There's a few other things I want to do. So with that being in mind, I had to do a couple of the story quests off stream, so I've done those already. So there was nothing major that we actually needed to do, but what we actually did was I'd already done White Orchard in the first episode, and did Vizima and all of that. And so all I've done so far is to go and see the Bloody Baron, talk to him, and explore there. So only done a little bit of the story quest, but nothing major. You can, if you do want to see those, you can see those in my full Deathmatch No Armor playthrough, but there's nothing really going on in those. They're pretty basic quests. So after that, I went building my Nilfgaard deck. So went and replayed a few people in Crow's Perch, like I said. Replayed these until I got one of the spy cards, saved it, and then replayed a couple of the others until I got another one of the spy cards. So I've already got 2 spies for the Nilfgaardian deck. Then I went and freed this bandit here, so I could. I did that first actually, so that I could go and buy the cards from Claywitch, and bought the cards from Lindenvale. Now those are the main ones that you can get for the Nilfgaardian deck. So you can actually build the Nilfgaardian deck quite early on, and this is what I've done in this playthrough. This is like a sort of proof of concept of what I've done with there. And then I went to Upper Mill and all that kind of stuff, and I went and visited the guy near Carston here, the Hearts of Stone merchant. Got the cow card from Brunwich and the 3 cards there from the Gaunt Dim Darkness ones from Hearts of Stone. So particularly if you do have Hearts of Stone, if you go and buy the cards in the correct order and everything else, you can end up with a decent Nilfgaardian deck quite early on. So let's have a look at what I've got. After I'd done that, I went to do the playing in keeps, and so I got the hero cards, a lot of the hero cards there for this deck as well. So I went and played the Boatwright after beating the Baron for the Dijkstra card, and so I went and beat the Boatwright, and he gets you the Letho card, I believe. And then I went and got Menno, which is an amazing card. You can see there it's a 10 strength hero card and a medic. That's fantastic. So I went and did playing in keep. So I went to beat Stepan first and got Yennefer, and then went and got Menno after that as well. So these are the cards we've got already. So this is very early on. I'm only a level or 2 into the game. I'll show that in just a minute. But I've got Letho and Menno. Won the Stefan card and then the Vatia card as those random wins. So normally you have to wait for those, but I'd reloaded a few times to make sure I got those. And then got the Young Emissary cards, so you can buy these, so you can get these in a set place, and the same for the Imperial Brigade cards, and these are the high scoring cards that are really good for the melee on there. So you buy all 6 of these cards, so you can always get those. Then I bought the Gaunt Dim Darkness cards. So you can see there the number of unit cards is 23 currently. So the Gaunt Dim Darkness and the Cow cards are 4 unit cards that you can buy if you have Hearts of Stone. You can go and buy those straight away, and that let me get up to 22, so that the deck was actually usable a little earlier than it would be. So that was very useful as well. And then we've got Tibor, who you win from the Gwent playing Innkeeps. So I went around and beat Olivia. I believe you get Tibor from him. You buy these 2 black infantry archers, one from Lindenvale and one from the Clay Witch Merchant, and I believe it's the same for the Etolian. You get one from the Clay Witch and one from Lindenvale. But these cards are all buyable, is the point. So you can purchase these 6 cards and these 4 cards, which are fantastic cards. And the medics are absolutely brilliant, because effectively they're not 1 strength cards, because you can play these, the 10 strengths in the first round, and then use these to play them again. So really, if you play these properly, then they are like having 10 strength or very strong cards twice, instead of just being 1 strength by themselves. And then the same, you can buy the Heavy Zerrikanian, the Siege Engineer, and the Siege Technician. You can buy all of these. So you can actually flesh out the Nilfgaard deck quite early, and this is something that I really felt like doing there. Biting Frost, we've got one of those in the deck just for when we play the monsters, and also because the spy cards for Nilfgaard, because of how strong the deck is, have higher strengths than the Northern Realms ones. So the 3 spies are 9 strength, 4 strength, and 7 strength. And so even if you aren't playing the monster deck, or you're playing an opponent that doesn't really have a lot of melee cards in their deck, you can use the Biting Frost to take the points away from your own spies that you've played on their side. So that's useful as well. We've got the decoys, which are always fantastic for playing the medic. Replaying the medic cards and for decoying other spies. And with the Nilfgaard deck having so many medics, it has 5 medics in total, including Yennefer. You can nearly always replay a spy. There's very, very small chance of you not being able to do that, so you can nearly always have more cards. And then the leader card, you can purchase this leader card, which lets you look at 3 random cards, which is kind of useful. It's pretty useful if you keep it for the end of a game, especially when there've only 3 cards left, and you can plan out your end game from that. And it also takes a turn, so you can try and get them to waste cards in round 1 and 2 if you need, using that leader ability. Now, because that is the theme of this playthrough, now this is a low level New Game Plus playthrough, it's mainly based around Piercing Cold and keeping that effective as long as possible. But in this sort of Nilfgaard deck theme as well, I just wanted to go to Skellige, and the reason that I'm doing that is I'm going to try and do some of the quests early. Now, the reason I want to do some of the quests early is because I specifically want to finish the Gwent Skellige style, do the first few quests there, and be able to get the quite useful leader card that cancels your opponent ability. That can be a useful leader, but more importantly, I want to get to the point where you can play Gremist at Gwent and try and complete his level 24 quest early. So this will be like a level 60-ish, level high 50s quest, and so they'll all be Red Skull enemies, but I want to try and beat it anyway because I love doing stuff like that. And the reason you want to do that is to get the best Gwent card in the game, in my opinion, which is Mysterious Elf, which is the neutral hero card, which can't be taken back by the opponent because it's a hero and it has 0 score, and so it will always give you 2 cards when you play that one, so you basically get a free card whenever you have a free extra card whenever you have Mysterious Elf in your deck, which is pretty wicked. 2 free cards really, depending on how you look at it. But first we'll have to be able to complete this quest. And this is a signs-based build, so the reason that we are going to struggle a little bit here maybe is because the signs won't do a lot of damage to Red Skull enemies. So what I've done is, if you noticed at the end of the last episode, I had these 3 sign skills boosting this Greater Blue Mutagen down here. But even though Piercing Cold is very good against enemies of the similar level, versus high level enemies it won't knock them down as much, and it's not as effective because you don't get the insta kills. So the thing that I'm going to be doing instead is I've taken off these for now, and I've put on a few more skills to add to my survivability. So I've got Poison Blades, which will let me whittle them down with the poisoned, not having to deal direct damage is very useful. I've got Protective Coating, which will reduce the damage a little bit. Still don't think I'd survive any hits, but hopefully we won't take any. And then we've got Endure Pain, so that when I'm using all of the potions with delayed recovery, as I will be in a moment, I'll have higher vitality as well. Now, I don't think I'll really be surviving these hits though, so mainly it's going to be based around Griffin School techniques, which increases your stamina regeneration, and I'm going to be using that to keep Quen up and take pot shots and poison all of the enemies using that. So here we're just going to activate delayed recovery by piling on all these potions, which is what we've been doing throughout this playthrough. And then we want the Superior Swallow and Thunderbolt. and you can see that we've got all of those active, and they will now stay active because of delayed recovery. So let's see how this works out. I want Gwent first of all, and I've also got the poisoning bombs, which are going to be very important. So first things first, you want to take out these guys. So you can see there that I've got the poisoning going, and we're going to throw a superior devil's puffball, and that'll also give us health regeneration. Now we are going to be trying to get these guys burnt first of all. And you can see that they're not really even burning there, which is a problem. So I need to be very careful with this. Now, because these guys are red skull, I'm going to just try and keep them in the poison cloud and keep Gwent up, and that's going to be the main thing that we do here, because that's going to be very important. And now, because I have the golden aureole as well, it's going to get some hits in this, poison this guy as well, which is great. Now, because I have golden aureole, I can jump into my own poison cloud, and then that will heal me on top of Swallow with everything being active, so that's extremely useful. And you can see there that with the poison and the other pirates on the boat helping you out with damage, I didn't really even have to deal much direct damage to themselves, and I was able to do that. So that's really good. Let me have a look now. That's completed that. That was about as easy as I could hope for. And then I'll just be taking out some of the enemies in Skellige, and this allows me to go and get those Gwent cards that I want. And this is one of the fun things about New Game Plus. If you know what you're doing, you can do things out of order if you want to, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So that being the case, Geralt's washed up on the shore there. Make sure we don't fight this guy. The sirens will be overhead as well, so we just want to make sure that we take those out. Alright, and yeah, don't fight this guy if you're on, if he's a higher level than you, it's not worth it, you don't get anything for it. Yen's a big girl, she can take care of herself. So anyway, we've got all of these things active, and I should be able to go and take out these hybrids as well. So let's just get the hybrid oil going. And top up the toxicity again. Get Gwent up, and then we'll go and try and take these guys out as well. Might as well while we're here. Try and draw these things in. Now they will be red skull as well, but there's a lot of good things you can do with trying to take these things out. There are a lot of good ways of doing it. Bleeding is an excellent one, obviously. Oh, all of my potions have gone off, so we actually need to put all of those back on. How strange. Alright. That's a bit rude that it's done that without taking the toxicity off, but instead we'll just be able to use a superior white honey. Put everything back on there. Okay, so now I can keep the sirens grounded, and I can keep Gwent up as well. Get a ton of damage on them as well, and be able to hopefully inflict poisoning on them too with the Poison Blades ability, which is a very useful ability if you're not doing a build that does high damage directly. Like New Game Plus, if you want to play it as strong as possible, then that's not really a thing, because you can just have Euphoria, and Poison Blades is a bit pointless because you can deal more damage directly than you could via any other means, so it's not necessarily a useful thing. But when we're doing this kind of build where it's not based around sword damage, and the sword damage is more complementary, then the one of the really useful things you can do is to have that damage over time. And you can see there that poisoning and the bleeding that I have from Poison Blades, and the bleeding Divana runestone great is extremely useful. So we've got the massive damage over time there, which is very useful too. And we're able to take those sirens out extremely easily, and that'll let me grab the place of power, and then take out the nest as well. Might as well, because I can just take out the echidna that's there, especially whilst delayed recovery is still active, and I've got everything working for me at the moment. Might as well do that too. So we're just going to top up our toxicity there, so it's still active. Can always meditate a little later to get that back. So let me have a look. Got enough toxicity spare just to keep those topped up, and then I'll just get the broad headbolt ready for it. Now the siren should come out here, which it has done. Now this is the one that in my regular playthrough I always recommended beating as soon as possible. Because it's the one that can get you the echidna mutagen. Now obviously here I already have the echidna mutagen, and you can see that this one's not taking as much burning or poisoning or things like that. So I'm just going to try and keep it grounded and deal with it that way. But it should still be able to get a good chunk of damage off it. It's not even having the bleeding inflicted there, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm sure I'll be able to take it out. Just let it get its distance there. And I'll try and get it with Aard when it comes down. So we're still doing reasonable damage, even though it's not a, you know, particularly... because even though it's not a build that's themed particularly around... oof, got poison there. Around swords damage, so I'm just going to let this thing back off a little bit. Use Gwent to get rid of that poisoning. It's okay because I do have Golden Oriole active anyway, so... And Exploding Quen just knocks it down there as well. And just wail on this thing a little bit. It does take longer obviously if you're not able to inflict the bleeding and other statuses on it. But I should be able to get it. I'm just going to switch away from the broad head bolts because there's much point in wasting them. Given the fact that it's not taking the bleeding, so I might as well just save those and wait till the echidna comes down. Come on, body you now. So this thing is like an enormously higher level. You can see there that didn't really take very much damage from Igni because it wasn't applying the burning effect, so much less powerful when Igni isn't burning things. The actual direct damage from Igni isn't very high unless you're using conductors of magic. But anyway, we've got the extra distance on Aard as well, and that was extremely useful. Just going to take this out. And you can see that we have such high stamina regeneration with the skills that we have on the build that I can always just keep this thing down. Get a good chunk of crits on it as well. And the reason that it's doing a critical hit every time must be because Superior Thunderbolt is counting it as raining for some reason. And then we were able to finish that thing off with the hit from Aard Sweep. So that's how the combat is going to be shaping up for the vast majority of this build. And that's how we're going to be using it. So I'm going to collect all this stuff, and then I'm going to go and collect the places of power, which are always quite useful to have. And I'll not actually be using those because, as you can see from the build, we don't have a lot of space, and I don't have enough ability points to be able to get the extra mutations just yet, so we'll not be doing that. So let me just have a look. So it's an interesting sort of build. Usually it will rely on the raw power of Piercing Cold, which deals direct damage with Aard. But because these quests in Skellige are going to be all focused on the Red Skull enemies, Piercing Cold itself is going to be less effective. So what I really need to do is to stick with this alchemy based version of the build where I use the extra alchemy skills, particularly poison blades, because like I say, if poison blades can affect enemies even when they are Red Skull enemies, some things are still affected by it, and that makes a huge difference because that is based on the enemy's health as damage over time instead of the actual direct damage that you're dealing with them. So because the enemies have such high health and it's percentage based poison damage, it's still effective even though you can't really deal much direct damage to them, and that's why poison blades, particularly with the superior oils, is extremely powerful. So that's always a good thing to use if you are fighting these sort of high level enemies, and that's how I'm going to take these out. You always want to come and loot the captain's body there. You can see 1,000 crowns, that's the money that you paid him to get over there, so it doesn't really even cost you anything, any net cost to be able to come to Skellige. So I've still got my 3,000 crowns there. I do have a lot less money than you would normally have in New Game Plus because I started it without having done either of the DLCs. And so I had to really scrimp and save to be able to make the Grandmaster Griffin gear, which is level 40. So I'm still a little way off being able to do that, but I did plan ahead and made that gear set with the intention of using it as soon as I get to level 40 in my new Game Plus, which I will be doing. At the moment I have the superior woven gauntlets, trousers and boots, and the mastercrafted armour, because you can get one of those for free. So that's what I've got there. So I'm just going to make my way to the appropriate places in Skellige. Now there's a merchant, I believe it's the wandering merchant who actually has the maps, but we'll check with this guy first. Let's see what this guy's got. Yeah, because if you have these maps, these are extremely useful. Because these will get you the fast travel points. And then you can, you know, maybe sell some of this stuff back if you need the actual money. But he's giving terrible prices, so instead I'm going to get my money back by selling the things to the innkeeps instead. Now the way that I always tell what prices somebody has for selling items and see if they give good prices or not is I just keep one item that I know the cost of, and then I can always check that. So the item I had there was pig hide. I know how much pig hides sell for and if they're a good deal or not. So that guy was only selling, buying pig hides for 6 crowns, which is a bad price, because somebody given a good price would sell them for, would buy them for 9 or 10 crowns. So that guy was giving pretty poor prices. So we're just going to ride to Skellige now and meet Mien. And normally this is the section of the main quest that you would do after you have completed Novigrad and Velen sections of the quest. But because I want to do this Skellige quest for the Gwent, and particularly progressing the Skellige Gwent quest to the point where you can fight Gremist, this is something that I need to be a little more careful with and do the Skellige quest first. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I've got to just skip through all this bit. I'm going to carry on with that instead. So yeah, I didn't want to have all of the Gwent stuff, particularly not the reloading and all that thing, because that's no good. Especially not for streaming a playthrough, but haven't really missed anything major there. Just me setting up this Nilfgaardian deck, and then going to be trying some of these Red Skull quests. Always fun to have a bit of a challenge. Now the thing that I particularly love about a hybrid build with a medium armor set and Griffin School techniques is that higher stamina regeneration. So even without my favourite tricks like the Aard sweep and ancient lesson decoction, which I used throughout my no armor playthrough, where I couldn't have any medium armor equipped and so didn't use Griffin School techniques with that. Now that I am using medium armor and the Griffin School techniques, all I really need is superior Tonial, which is why I'm using delayed recovery for something a bit different. So just going to skip through all this stuff. Got to pass through these parts of it just to the point where I can do a couple of these Skellige quests, and then it'll be at the point where I can go and play Gremist if needed, which is the main goal right now. Just going to grab this stuff. More money the better, especially because I am a little low on funds, as I described just before. But the same token, I already have the swords that I'll be using right up until level 40 when I can equip the Griffin stuff. And I have all the Grandmaster set there. And I already have the armor as well, so I shouldn't really need to be spending very much in this playthrough. I just want to be buying the Gwent cards. And I've bought a chunk of those already. If you're wondering why I'm killing these, it's to get those feathers. You can see the feathers there. Anytime you get a group of these, you can kill them with Aard or Igni very easily. And then go and get the feathers that they drop. Those are useful for making glyphs of infusion, which are what you need to make lesser glyphs. So it's always cheaper to make lesser glyphs and then make them into regular glyphs and then greater glyphs, if that is the case. And the reason that I want to be collecting those feathers is so that if I want to do that, then I can do. So alright, so got Gwent Skellige style there, but we need to be able to play Mien for that, and that means doing the first 2 first few of these quests. There's not a ton of enemies that we have to face there, so it's not a mega problem. Just not going to play anybody else at cards yet. I want to try and use the deck as full as possible. Get another Scorch there just in case. And can sell all these things. So this guy gives good prices. So if you look at the pig hides there, he gives 10, which is very high relative to most merchants in the game. So we can sell all this junk to him, knowing that he gives a good price, which is useful. And get a bit of extra money back there. Just going to save these. You never want to... I've bred these already, so now I can sell these back. So you don't get very much for them, but you can see there 30 crowns, 45 crowns, 15 crowns. So if you've read them already, you already have those things on the map. So you might as well sell them back to him. And then after I've... the plan is that after I've done these Skellige quests and got the mysterious elf for my deck, and get the mysterious elf card for my Gwent deck for Nilfgaard, then I will try and have a... I will have to think about going to do high stakes as well, and then I can get the Relentless leader ability. So the Nilfgaard deck, you normally get the things for it a lot later than the other decks, and that is why I wanted to, you know, try and get Relentless as soon as possible, which will mean completing high stakes at a very early level as well. I should really be able to do that, and it's mainly the card that I want. So all I want to be able to do is to get through the tournament without losing, so that I can get the 4 leader abilities that you win from the high stakes quest, and then I can use Relentless for the rest of the game and have Mysterious Elf and Relentless, and then eventually I'll get the 3rd random win spy card, so I can have all 5 spy cards and Relentless for most of the game when I'm playing random people, which is quite a fun idea. So that's what I'm doing this time. So just going to stash these for now. Don't really need them. I'll take them out later when I go to Toussaint and sell things. Because you can go to Toussaint early as well. Just going to get rid of this stuff. And grab the black clothes that will match Yennefer's. Alright. Okay, all kitted out, ready for a wake. Who doesn't love a good funeral? Well, debatable, but anyway. So yeah, that's the plan for now. We're just going to finish some of these Gwent things early, and get the leader card. I don't actually know which leader card I prefer for the Nilfgaard deck out of the one that lets you look at 3 cards or the one that cancels your leader ability. Depending on the situation, they can both be very useful. I like the fact that the one that lets you see 3 cards lets you plan your strategy, especially, like I say, if you use it later in the game, and it also, like, later in each Gwent game. And also there's the fact to take into consideration that uses a turn, which can be very useful, because a lot of the Nilfgaard deck is about outlasting how the number of turns that you have, manipulating the turns, which is why it's a fun deck to play. So anyway, that's the plan right now. Shouldn't take me too long to actually do this. I'm not going to do the bit where you race with Ceres up the mountain. Don't really need that. Just going to skip through all this stuff. And then skip through as well. Blah, 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 blah. Right, off we go. So we just got to skip through all this dialogue and things like that. These guys aren't here to speak to at the minute. I don't really fancy meditating. Not really necessary just yet. Right, so skip through this stuff. and all we'll really have to do is take out the earth elemental that's in Mien's lab. Should be able to do that without too many problems. We'll have a look. Not saying nice to meet you to this guy, since how he turns out to be a traitor. Spoilers. Let's get through all this stuff, all Jarl's sons. Right, so we're going through all this stuff. Are we going to race? No, we're not going to race, blah blah blah. Right, you can race up the mountain for things like that, but I just can't really be bothered, so... Alright, just going to skip through all that stuff. I just want to get through as soon as possible. Right, I've got to get through all this stuff. Madman, complete numpty. Sort him out later as well. Right now it's not really necessary. Right, so just going to go through all this stuff. And that should be absolutely fine. Yeah. Anyway, boring. Well, it's not boring when you do it the first time, but it sort of is at the minute, so. Alright, so. No point saying that we shouldn't, because, you know, she's going to take the mask anyway, because you need it for the story, so screw it. Oh yeah, new pain in the backside. Just grabbing all this stuff. I mean, don't really need it, but this will be a playthrough that's very heavy on meditation. But even as I say that, I know it's kind of nonsense because I've already got 400 alcohol anyway, so I could never use that many in the game. But yeah, the thing about delayed recovery that makes it quite irritating to use normally is that really the best way or the most efficient way to use it is to use it without acquired tolerance, because you only need to keep your toxicity above 70% of your maximum toxicity. So the best way to do it really is to have 100 toxicity and then just keep your toxicity above 70. Now what that means is that you have to wait for the toxicity to decrease and then keep applying all the different potions. And if you were to lose track and it drops below 70 at any point, including in between fights, then you lose the effect of all the potions and you'd have to, you know, start the process again. So what I actually find a lot more convenient is to use acquired tolerance with it. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really like using delayed recovery unless I'm doing that. Because it's just such an awkward skill and you have to pay so much attention to your toxicity and make sure that as soon as your toxicity is dropped by like 15 or 20, you are using another potion to keep it topped up. And in the heat of battle particularly, that can be very difficult to keep track of. So it's like not really a very easy skill. It's not very user friendly in that sense. And I would much rather go with a decoctions and or fast metabolism build. If you watch my New Game Plus walkthrough and the later stages of that, how I use fast metabolism with a decoctions based build with Euphoria, that is not only more convenient but it's also pretty much just as effective, because with fast metabolism you can use the potions and then what will happen after that is that the toxicity flies down extremely quickly. So, you know, it's a lot easier to deal with. So, I'm just going to use Superior Tawny for this, because all I really need is the these enemies, even though they show as Red Skull, are particularly easy and they don't do any damage or anything like that. So we're just going to use Superior Tawny so I can repeatedly use Piercing Cold on them. And then if I need to, I'll use Superior Swallow as well. So no point piling on all the potions for this stuff. But yeah, this is why delayed recoveries are a lot more convenient to use if you're using it with Acquired Tolerance, because when I want to, I have the toxicity available to use all of the potions at once and then just keep delayed recovery topped up. And because, like I say, it's percentage based, it's 70% of your maximum toxicity that you need to keep it up. Are we using the steel weapon? Yeah, steel weapon. Okay. You need to keep it above 70% of your maximum toxicity. It's a lot easier to keep the toxicity topped up if you have a higher maximum toxicity. So that's what we're doing here. Hope that makes sense. I've never used delayed recovery for any extensive period of time because of how awkward it is if you're not using Acquired Tolerance. So this time I thought I'd just give it a go, have a potions only playthrough instead of decoctions. And yeah, a lot of fun so far. Anyway, gonna skip through all this stuff. And we've got to beat this elemental now, which will be a ton of fun. I'll just make sure I've got my oil all ready for that. Little bit of a waste of time that, to be honest, because I'll have to go back into the menu to apply all my potions anyway, but never mind. Now what do we need here? Pretty sure it's the goblet you use. I always forget this every time, but I'm fairly certain it's the goblet, so... let's try that. Yeah, good. It is. Okay, so we've got the mask here, and we've just got to take out the elemental. Ruh-roh. So before we do this may be a quite tough enemy, so we're just going to pile on all the potions. Tawny's already effective. Just going to use those extra potions and then we'll meditate after this battle. Just want to keep this as high as possible, so not doing a ton of damage there, but what we're going to do is just hit this thing. Now obviously it's not having any bleed in there, so not much point using that. I'll just have to slowly take it down. So the difficult thing about these earth elementals is that they're not susceptible to many statuses, so this is going to be a slightly longer fight. So you see there, it didn't really take any damage from Piercing Cold either, and obviously you can't knock it down to be able to do that. So the best way to be able to do it is just to keep up Erden to slow it down, and then keep up Quen so that you don't take any damage. And then use heavy attacks because they skip they ignore armor resistance, which is useful. So we're just gonna keep hitting this thing, and then we'll get Erden up again, and then I can use Aard to knock it back and stop it from getting many hits in. Keep dodging on this. Eventually I'll get its health down. Should be a bit more careful and use Quen really, but I am helping you, you dozy thing. It's quite funny because Yen keeps knocking it back, which is actually making it more difficult for me to keep it stunned. But if I keep it in the corner, then we should be alright. Just got to keep the toxicity up. So this is what I mean about delayed recovery being easier to use if you do have a bit more leeway like that. So just going to knock this thing back. Keep Quen up. And get those hits in. And you can see that the stamina regeneration is so quick that you can actually just use Aard to sort of stun lock these things, because Aard Sweep doesn't take up your full health bar, which is why I absolutely love it compared to regular Aard. And if you have 3 points in Aard Sweep, then it's just as effective as regular Aard as well. So it basically hits all around you, takes less stamina, and has the exact same effect. So that's why it's fantastic, particularly with a piercing cold build or a build that's got a ton of stamina regeneration like this. So yeah, very useful. And a good way of taking out solo enemies is being able to stun with Aard Sweep and then getting a heavy strike repeatedly. So that's good stuff. Ow! And that is why we don't want to get hit. But as long as we have all of the potions active, we should be alright. And you can see how delayed recovery takes effect. You can see that Blizzard and Swallow have actually run out in the top left. You can see that several of the potions have actually run out and shouldn't be having any more effect. But they still are doing, because delayed recovery are useful like that. I should have enough toxicity and enough potions left to be able to take these things out without delayed recovery running out. So I'll just take this out and then that should be fine. I'm just a bit conscious that if I keep knocking this thing up the wall, it makes it more difficult to hit, but should be fine. And get these hits in. Just need to reapply my elemental oil. Elementa oil, rather. To be able to deal damage to this thing. Okay. I've still got a few potions in the menu there that I can use to top this up. So that'll be fine. And you can see that with Swallow, even though I'm taking damage from the potions, which I always will be doing because my potion toxicity will be over 70%. I have Endure Pain active, so I have more vitality. So again, that's by design. And Swallow will easily out-damage the damage from the toxicity. So it will be healing you throughout protracted fights like this, and always fun. So I've got 249 toxicity there. So eventually that'll drop down a little bit and I'll be able to use the superior tournial to keep it topped up. So you have a ton of potion use. Ow! You have a ton of potion use every time with this setup. So you know, it's very useful for doing that. I also, if I wanted it, I do have the Gwent active shield. So if this thing was to get a hit in like this, I can actually get a bit more extra regeneration from that as well. But you can see there that unlike the regular Gwent, it does do a ton of damage through the Gwent shield, whereas regular Gwent isn't like that. So you do have to be a bit careful with that. So you can see the difference between using Aard Sweep and Axie is like, even though I stunned it and got the hit in with Axie, it wasn't as effective because Axie uses your full stamina bar, unlike the Sweep. So that is why it's so effective using Aard Sweep with a high stamina regeneration build, or a high adrenaline build with rage management. So taking this thing down, and that'll pretty much be it. Yay! So you can take on extremely powerful enemies even doing that, and that's even an enemy that wasn't susceptible to damage over time. So it's absolutely tons of good stuff you can do with that. So yeah, that's why delayed recovery can be very effective, because you get to keep all of those powerful potions, and particularly Swallow, which is very large amount of healing, but doesn't really take a lot of doesn't really last particularly long, and you can just use that as it is. So okay, if you don't want to have the scene with the unicorn here, then you don't say that you want to kiss Yen there, and it'll skip out the scene with the unicorn. And seeing as I'm going to be skipping the cutscenes anyway, and that doesn't make a difference to which person you end up with, it'll make no difference. Only way you can sleep with both sorceresses and still end up with one of them is to do this quest and have the unicorn scene with Yen, and then choose Triss when you do all the Nilfgaard quests, and then turn down Yen at the last wish. And so you can end up with Triss having slept with both, but you can't end up with Yennefer having slept with both. Right, so we're going to go through all this stuff, skip through, speak to Crack, and then we've just got to do the quest with the mask. And when we've done the quest with the Mask of Ouroboros, that's all fine, and then you can speak to Mien and play him at Gwent, and that's what the plan is here. So just going to skip through this stuff first. Right, so These are the things where you speak to Crack about why he doesn't want to be the leader himself, and what Ceres is gonna do. And then you can choose whether you want to do the side quest of helping Crack's children, which gave you a lot of experience. They're technically side quests. All of the progression stuff are side quests, but yeah, they can be extremely useful because they get you an absolute ton of stuff there. So okay, so that's this bit sorted. And yeah, we want to meet Mien at the site of the cataclysm and be able to do that. So I'm just going to fast travel. Should have the thing ability there. Now, like I say, the quest that we actually want to be progressing is this one, win a card from Mien, but you can't talk to Mien to play him at Gwent until you've done this Mask of Ouroboros mission. This is also the way that you would do... this is in the mainland, so that's okay. This is also the way that you would set up a monster deck early. There's a couple of ways you can set a monster deck up early. So if you held off from playing Gwent, apart from the compulsory ones, you could actually go to Skellige early, like I have done here, and you can do this in a regular playthrough as well. There's a YouTube video about that. You can actually get to Skellige pretty much as early as level 4 if you really wanted. I've done that before. You can go to Skellige early and then set up your places of... you can get all the places of power and then set up your monster deck by doing the same sort of thing. Now, you might struggle with the actual main quests unless you know exactly what you're doing here. So... you could do those quests at a lowish level on a regular playthrough as well, but you would have to properly know what you were doing. So, fair warning in case you feel like doing that. But right now, this is an interesting bit because we need to avoid the giant, but doing so can get you a place of power and the mastercrafted griffin diagrams. So we're just going to do that because we need to go find our way round to where Mien is to do this Mask of Ouroboros quest anyway. That's going to be a next port of call. So what you want to do is, as the giant wakes up here, you want to keep Quinn up and then just dodge through this door, and you should be able to get far away enough from him eventually that you can climb up here. Yeah, so you don't have to take on this giant to be able to get these diagrams. I mean, there's no point doing this for the diagrams yet. You just sort of get them whilst you're here. It's more for the place of power. Because the diagrams are no use to you until you're 34 levels into the game anyway, because I've just picked all those up. But they'll not be available for another 34 levels. Well, 30 plus levels now. You can see they're level 65, so those aren't available for a very, very long time. 34 levels into New Game Plus, so not really a big deal there. But right, so just want to get Roach if we can. Come on, Roach. Oh, she's getting smacked by a cyclops, which is unhelpful. So I'll just have to make my way past these harpies myself. If I can get down this side, then I would be able to beat them, but we'll see. It's going to take me a while to beat these things unless I can get some piercing cold hits on them, so it seems a bit unlikely. Can I burn them? Let's have a look. No, I can't. I don't think it'll be really very possible for me to burn them with the current setup either, because my sign intensity is not quite high enough. Whilst I've got the alchemy skills equipped, so just going to move away from these things. Should be able to just knock them down and then run. Got the whale graveyard here. But again, now that I'm out of battle, I can just call Roach. And then we will ride past all these enemies that I don't really want to fight. Calm down, Roach. Avoid all these higher level Skellige things. I don't really need those. And I just want to find my way across the mountain so that I can make my way to Mien over here. So I'll just ignore this bandit camp for now. Just ride round to the road and then go from there. Alright, so we're well on the way again, and I can just do this quest. Only a few foglets now. Whilst they are, during this quest now, whilst they are quite formidable enemies, I should be able to take them on one-on-one. And that'll be necessary anyway, because I have to be able to beat foglets to do this, because the quest that I actually want to do, to be able to deal with Gremist, who is this guy here, and play Gwent against him, I'll have to have played with Mien first, so... So this is what we do to start practicum of alchemy. Okay. I'm going to do that as well. Right, so just got to convince Gremist that actually he's going to help us out. And this is how we start this quest, and then we have to have been able to complete this quest before we can play him at Gwent. So we've got to progress the Gwent quest to where we can actually play Gremist, and then actually finish his quest as well. So this is how the game, in theory, stops you from getting the mysterious elf card, because you have to have done very specific things to be able to do that. But instead, I'm just going to find the fast travel marker, which is round here. I know it's round here somewhere. And then I'm going to be able to come back here a little later. So where's this fast travel marker? I know it's here somewhere. It's always a pain to find this one. Damn, where is it? This is the area where the cave is, then so we'll go there quite early, if we can. Ah, there you go. There's the marker. Knew there's one here somewhere. Right, so... But first we need to have spoken to Mien anyway, so... Let me have a look. It's around here somewhere, I think, so we're going to try and go straight there afterwards. Because that way you can skip out fighting the... you can skip out some of the fights and things, which is useful, so... But first things first, got to go and speak to Mien, do this bit of the quest. To avoid these high level Endragers, because I don't really want to fight those yet. Come on, Roach. Come on, sweetie. Because those things will be pretty dangerous. I could take them on, but again, it'd take a good bit of patience, because Piercing Cold wouldn't actually deal with them very effectively. Because of their higher level, so they would be very resistant to my signs. So that's why we've got the damage over time skills and the bleeding rune in our swords, which are very useful. It'll be less necessary once I get the Mastercrafted Griffin gear, because that gives you a large boost in sign intensity. So I'll probably just stick with the Velez runestones in that, but we'll see. Oh, going the wrong way. I'm making them way towards the green marker instead of the gold one. But it's the gold one I actually want right now. There's actually also a place of power here as well. So I'll want to grab that first.
Magic. Place of power.
Just going to apply my oils there, and the enemies in this, like I say, are necrophages because they are foglets. So let's do those. Yeah.
You know this damn well, but the mask of Orberus is no trifle. Have you any idea what could happen if it is used?
So they're arguing about the mask. Oh, come on. Right, so we just got to skip through all this bit. Blah, 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 blah. Right, so she wants to use the mask. Whilst we're arguing about it, she goes and does it anyway. That'll be fine. Myths, blah, 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 blah. Alright, so let me go. Ruh-roh! Right, so just going to carry on down here. Don't know why I'm grabbing this hand fibre, because A, I've got hundreds of it already probably, and B, I don't need any of it, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so this is what we're going to do. Run through here, and then when we get into combat, we will apply all of the oils and things that we need. I've got the oils already, actually, so it's going to pile up on potions again. And even if it can't really knock them down to do the massive amounts of damage, Aard sweep is very useful against the foglets, because you can freeze them like that, get in some good hits, and also it knocks them out of the fog, and it knocks their illusions out of the way, which is very useful. So let's just get this thing. And we can hit it like that. So you can see they're actually taking a really large amount of damage over time. I can get a lot of hits in from that. And with protective coating, even if they do get these hits, that's part of the reason we're using it, is because it'll protect me from a good chunk of the damage. And even though these are red skull enemies, they're not really killing me, even though foglets generally do a lot of damage. So that's why protective coating is very useful, even on like what is normally a sign build. So the damage over time should really kill that one, and we can try and hit this one instead. And you can see that we've got the effects now as well, which is again another advantage of having the delayed recovery, is that this will remain blizzard remains effective, whereas normally it would have run out already, as you can tell by the fact that its timer is at 0 there in between antidote and Petrie's filter, but now it actually stays active, and it gives us that slowdown from killing the first enemy. So lots of very powerful techniques with delayed recovery, which is why it can be a ton of fun to use. And you can see there that even though I'm taking the toxicity from having all the potions active, I've also got the healing from Superior Swallow, which is like, you know, far out damaging, far out healing the damage that we would otherwise be taking. So yeah, very useful. Right, so we just got to follow Yen now, and just going to keep the toxicity topped up as well. Okay. I'm just going to use those potions to keep toxicity topped up over 70. Just got to wait for Yen, and then every time you do this, there'll be a foglet to fight. But again, now it's just one-on-one, and it's bleeding from the superior black blood as well. So it'll take the damage from that as I hit it, and then it'll take the damage from my strikes. Gets frozen in place, and again, really effective way of dealing with single enemies is to stun them in place with Aard sweep, and so even though this is a red skull enemy, it's not able to deal with the combination of it. So really powerful technique. Get some hits in like that, one heavy, one light every time. What do you mean when you're done with him? This is Yen talking smack when it's me that's kicking his ass. And one of the other really powerful things is that because Superior Thunderbolt is already always active, a lot of the places, a lot of the time, it counts as being raining like it is right now, and Superior Thunderbolt will always deal a critical hit when it's raining as well, which is fantastic. That was pretty cool. What was that, Geralt? Who knows? Yeah, so again, just going to keep all the toxicity topped up so we can keep it active throughout all these fights. Even the echo is dangerous. Pretty cool. Anyway, as you can see, the foglets, not such a difficult thing. The thing I really do wish with delayed recovery that would make it a bit more, a little bit better, would be if maybe it had another 2 points to put into it, so it took the threshold to 50%, although that might be a little bit too good if that was the case. Or if it just slowed the toxicity recovery, so if it was like the opposite of fast metabolism, and if it just meant that the at the third point in delayed recovery put the threshold to 70%, and then maybe slowed the toxicity recovery as well, that would mean that it'd still function the exact same way, but it'd just be easier to keep the toxicity topped up, which I think would be really useful because, to be perfectly honest, that wouldn't really, like I say, it wouldn't change how the actual skill worked. It would just change the convenience of keeping that toxicity high, which I think would be really useful. So just going to kill this thing. You can't sometimes get the 2 strikes in, so that's why, you know, sometimes you instead want to be just sticking to 1 heavy strike in between each Aard sweep, but, you know, who knows. Again, just going to keep that toxicity topped up.
She escaped through another portal.
Know where it led?
Magic residue trail leads to Velen.
Any chance you can figure out where Ciri's companion fled to? His portal's gotta be nearby.
I'll try to find it. Come.
Okay. Another foglet.
How long you gonna make
Beat this one down the exact same way. It's a pretty cool thing in New Game Plus that if your build is set up correctly, there are lots of ways to take on Red Skull enemies, so you can actually do the game pretty largely out of order if you wanted. Like, if you watch my New Game Plus walkthrough, where I'm using the best build in the game, which is, in my opinion, my Uber build, the OP Whirlwind tank build, I used that one in New Game Plus and actually did all of Toussaint when I was like 20 levels too early, or at least did the first few quests of Toussaint a few levels early. So the first fight against the boss there on, and the the Corvo Bianco sections of the game. So I was actually able to do those supremely early and be able to have Corvo Bianco like 20 upgraded 20 levels before it should have been, and so I could convert mutagens and things like that. So a bunch of really interesting stuff you can do in the game when you are extremely powerful, and it really does help out with stuff like that. So now here I can either try and keep my toxicity topped up again, or I can just wait for it all to die off and clear it with a superior white honey and then use 1 of everything again. So if I remember, that'll be all of the enemies taken out. So I'll just let the toxicity die off, and then when I need the toxicity again, I'll use it with a superior white honey. May have 1 more foglet to take out, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're okay here. So this is about how you can maximize the maximum use of potions with delayed recovery. So every potion restocks every meditation uses 1 hard alcohol to restock all of your potions and bombs. So you can really maximize it well by, you know, using every single potion like that, and then using white honey before you meditate, so that again, if you have acquired tolerance and delayed recovery, you can use every single potion again, and then keep them topped up for whatever fight you need to you know, be winning, and in that way you can get more potion uses before you even have to meditate. So you can have multiple uses of all the potions with delayed recovery for like 1 use of alcohol. So, and you get hundreds of alcohol anyway, so it's perfectly possible to use delayed recovery throughout the whole game like this and really maximize it in every single fight. So you can see when delayed recovery is going to wear off, because the potions that should have worn off already will end when it drops below 70% in total, and so that's when you can use a superior white honey, clear everything out, and then use the potions again. So right, now I don't actually want to carry on with the story missions any further. I can just leave those until later, because this is what I actually wanted, which was to be able to play Gwent. I don't actually want the cards that Mien gives or anything like that. I just want to be able to play Gremist, and I need to have beaten him first, so do this. Only ever want 1 of these cards in the deck at any one time. Haven't got any of the spies, unfortunately. Well, I should be okay with what I've got. We'll see. Doesn't actually have a fantastic deck, considering it doesn't have the leader card that doubles the abilities, doubles the close combat. So the leader card he's got is a little less consistent. Okay, so he's passed that one. I still have a 1 card advantage, so I should be alright here. I just want to hold off using that leader card as long as possible, so that if at all possible I can save the Scorch card until I know what's going to happen with that. So don't want to medic any of these back just yet. So I'm actually just going to use this a little early. So he's got a Frightener, a Biting Frost and Leshen. Now I'm actually just going to use this here because all of his cards are 5 strength, so that'll get rid of all of them at once. Yeah, it's a weird deck he's got because it's not particularly strong, even though he's like one of the main story ones. So we can get that back. And depending on what cards he's got at the end, I should be alright. I mean, if he had the Vampire and the Crones, then maybe I'd be in a little bit of trouble, because that'd be 19 and 18, but should be okay there. And the reason I used it on the Commander's Horn on that row is because he had the 6 up there, so he was unlikely to use a Torrential Rain if he had that one as the last card. So anyway, we've got a ton of experience there, because the quests always go like that for the main quest. And then we've got that as well. So now we can actually play Gremist, but in order to do that, we have to have completed his quest first, and that is what we wanted. So, and then I'll just finish the other Skellige style bits for the leader card as well. So, secondary quests, practicum in alchemy. Right, and we're going to do this bit first, but assuming my memory is correct, I think I should be able to go straight there and skip out this most irritating bit of the quest and skip out fighting a bunch of enemies like some higher level wolves and things like that. I should be able to just go straight to the cave, I think, so we'll see. Come on, Roach. If I can find the cave myself, it should be alright.
Faster.
Right, just have to climb up there, I think. Whoa, can't get down that way. There is a way up, I think, so I'll just climb here. Okay, so yeah, this is the cave that I wanted. And if you get here beforehand, I think you can just normally speak to the Succubus before you've done any of this stuff, and she will just give you the Pimpernel herself, which is very useful. She is one of the 2 Succubus that you can fight to get the Succubus mutagen. There are only the 2 of those in the game, so just bear in mind that if you do it this way, you want the Succubus mutagen, you would have to kill the other Succubus who is in the level 15 Witcher contract in Nilfgaard. So if you want the Succubus mutagen, you have to kill one of those. So it's a bit unfortunate, because you know, it's debatable whether they actually, you know, deserve it or not, but never mind. Right, so distillery next.
Come on.
And we'll carry on with this. Now at the moment I have run out of charges on oil charges on my sword. So I'm just going to be fighting a couple of alghouls next. So I'm just going to clear off the potion toxicity, and then when I get there I'll reapply the potions again so they're active. But right now I just want to be getting to the distillery and fighting the alghouls on the way, and then taking out the giant, which is what you actually need. And that'll let me sort out the rest of Gremist's quest. Then the last and probably most difficult bit is the bit where you have to protect the druid as he summons the rain and things. So we'll have to have a look at this. So here are these alghouls, which are going to be pretty tricky. So we're just going to get all the potions active again. Alright. So here are these things. And again, it's going to be a bit difficult to properly hurt these because whilst they are getting slowed down, the actual thing itself, oof, you can see the spikes did a ton of damage there as well. So I want to keep my distance and get the spikes away. So I'm just kind of very careful with these things because when their spikes are up, they are very difficult. So now they would normally take a bit of damage from poisoning, I think. So we'll try that as well. And we can use the... that's not what I wanted. I wanted Axie. So the thing that I was trying to do there was actually use Axie and get the spikes put away first. Unfortunately, I had Igni instead of Axie. So yeah, they do a ton of damage and I would have to have been a bit more patient there. So I'll take those out in just a minute. Those alghouls, I could actually just ride past them, to be perfectly honest. I don't have to fight them. So may just do that. Absolutely could beat them, but it's just the patience thing really. So let's see, especially with there being 3 of them at once. But yeah, you can take them out by using Axie to put the spikes away. But whilst they're too resistant to signs for me to be able to actually burn them with Igni, then that's a bit of a problem. 'Cause it will take a little bit longer to beat them. One of the other things I could try is that I was trying to poison them there. I could also try and use the dancing star bomb and see if I can inflict burning on them that way. Because again, burning is damage over time, so that's very useful. Right, anyway, we've got the Pimpernel, so that's okay. Might actually just try switching around a couple of the skills. Particularly Endure Pain, just to get a little bit more sign intensity. I'm just going to trade off a little bit of health for a little bit more sign intensity and see if I can actually burn them with that. So. So you lose about, well, it's not quite 900 health because synergy doesn't work correctly with the greater green mutagens, but I lost about 800 health, I think it is, something like that. And then that higher sign intensity might allow me to actually burn them, so we'll have to have a see. Okay, so ready to go. See what happens there. Just got to ride past these wolves. Let's try that again. If they beat me again, then I'll just ride past them because I don't really need to beat them or anything. Just stubbornness, and I like a bit of a challenge as much as anything. The thing about Witcher 3 is, as awesome a game as it is, it's very easy. So like you have to go and search for challenges and try and do things out of order and do it a bit earlier if you want to try and do that thing. So let's have a go this time. Right, let's try these things again. Can we burn them? Didn't seem to there. No, so not really inflicting the burn on them, so that's a bit of a shame. And can we get poisoning on them as well? No, not really. So these things are going to be pretty tricky then. So the thing that's going to be difficult is just keeping up with their damage, and because they're Red Skull, I might actually struggle to deal enough damage to them anyway. So let's have a look. Let's have a look. Might just have to leave these things for now because they, without them taking the damage and me not having Euphoria like I would normally, they might be very difficult to actually deal enough damage to with how much they heal. So what we would have to do is use the Moondust Bomb to stop them from regenerating. So let's have a look. Now the other thing we can try is to burn them with the Broadhead bolts, but again doesn't seem to be really inflicting the bleeding. So that's going to be pretty tricky. So yeah, I think this is maybe going to be a bit difficult because of how much damage they're going to inflict and how difficult it's going to be for me to actually kill them. So there'll be too much dodging involved for that and not enough reward. So what we're going to do instead is just take on the Cyclops, because we can take that on pretty easily and we'll be able to wear that down. And then we've just got to do the last bit where we do Fritjof, and we should be able to do that bit, because even though they are Red Skull enemies, with Fritjof you can do that because the dog actually helps you out as well, and the dog actually does a ton of damage. So yeah, if you're trying to take on a bunch of Red Skull enemies like that, it can be very difficult. So you have to have either a very, very defensive build that stops you from taking any damage, which you can do with the Viper or the Ursine pretty easily, with the Aracastic Auction and things like that, but that is not the kind of build we're using at the minute. So I think these alghouls might be a little bit beyond me at the moment, especially with how many times it would take me. So that being the case, we are just going to ride past them and take out the giant. Oh, my goodness. My goodness, are you serious? Oh dear. Right, so as you can just tell there, I've done that entire quest without having my armor on. Should have realized really from doing my no armor playthrough and stuff. So actually I was trying to take on these Red Skull ones without having any of my armor equipped. No wonder. Should I try them one more time? Could do. But I don't really think it's necessary. But yeah, no wonder I was taking such massive damage. I did think it was a bit strange, but then they are much higher level than me, so it wouldn't really make a difference to the damage I was doing to them though, so not really necessary for me to try and take them on. Because even though I would be taking reduced damage, there's no good way of dealing damage to them quickly with the build that I've got currently. So just going to ride past them for now. Because again, you don't have to fight them. There's no great reward there either. Almost fell off the edge, but not quite. It's pretty funny though. Anyway. So, white honey first. And everything else. Don't think you can poison these things, but we'll try. At the very least, because I'll have Superior Golden Aureole active, it will allow me to heal up myself as well. Yeah, so it's not really taking any damage from that. And not burning it there. So let's try burning it with the Dancing Star again. And I'll just have to keep up Quen, which I should be able to do a lot easier this time because I actually have Griffin School Techniques active because I've remembered to put my armor on. But yeah, I didn't burn it there either, so it's going to take a lot of keeping Quen up and just getting these heavy hits in. You have to be very careful with keeping Quen up though, because this thing will do a ton of damage, but we should be able to wear it down eventually. But again, not even being able to inflict bleeding on it there, so it's going to take a long time to wear down. So if you are going to do things like this, sometimes they are going to be pretty difficult. So Erden is a big help against these things. And then if I can get Erden on and then get Quen back up, I'll try and get a few hits of Aard in as well. Right, let's get Aard on. Now this is the thing about the cyclopses sometimes. They don't really get affected by Aard, particularly if they're high level, so it's not like the elemental where you can just repeatedly stun it. So that is going to be a problem. But the freezing effect is quite useful, because you can see that it really slows the cyclops down, so instead of using Erden, we can just use that instead. So this is going to be quite a protracted fight. I'm just going to have to wear it down gradually. Yeah, so really not able to very quickly damage it like that. I wonder how the active shield will help with Gwen. Not at all my days. Okay, so you have to be a bit careful with that. And just get all those active as well. And make sure that delayed recovery is keeping that topped up, because I didn't have swallow active either, so have to be a bit careful there. So you do have to be careful when you're having these sort of high level fights, that you do keep stuff active and you're paying attention, as I was not doing there. So now I'll have to back off a little bit. Just make sure that I keep everything in order. Not being able to burn him with Igni is going to mean that it takes quite a long time. No stunning from Axie there either, just had no effect at all, so gonna have to be very careful, especially with its charging attack like that. Just get in the hits gradually and wear it down. Ah, damn. So he got me with that big swing. Now, the thing I did there was obviously trying out active shield. It's a good idea to try out a few new things, especially with when it's with a build that I, haven't used as much of, and with this being a low-level New Game Plus. But this is the sort of thing that causes problems when you're on a regular New Game Plus playthrough, because, like right now, it's because I'm against the Red Skull enemies, and they are causing, such massive amounts of damage, and the sign intensity buff, sign resistance buff that they get is preventing me from being able to burn them. From the sort of Red Skull bonuses they get. Now, if you're using my Whirlwind tank build, you can get around this because Euphoria does such extreme damage that you can wear them down with your critical hits, from it being a critical hit type of build. And the damage that you can do from Euphoria and all the critical hit bonuses that are stacked up. And because of the way that the damage resistance works, you can have your damage resistance at 100% so that they are always dealing minimum damage. So then you can very easily actually be able to avoid all of the damage that they're dealing and be able to wear them down a lot easier because of the higher damage that you deal yourself. But the big difference with this kind of build is that it's not dealing damage in the same sort of way, and so because Piercing Cold is virtually ineffective because it won't be dealing damage because of the sign resistance that they have. Now, interestingly, this is actually the reason that I'm doing this New Game Plus build at a lower level, so that for the majority of the game, when the enemies are the same level as me, I can use Piercing Cold as it's intended, and this is why I started New Game Plus on this playthrough at as lower level as possible, so that Piercing Cold would remain as effective as it should be, because the enemies won't have that massive boost in sign resistance that they get at sort of level 60 to 65 plus, because right now everything is just in the 30s, and even by the end of the game I'll only be approaching level 65-ish instead. So it may start to lose effectiveness right at the end of the game, but for the majority of it I should be able to use a Piercing Gold build properly, which is what I'm interested in doing on this playthrough. But whilst I'm taking on the max level enemies when they're Red Skulls like this, it is going to be very difficult, and this is how I'm going to have to try and muddle through it and beat them using tactics and a fair chunk of patience, because we can't inflict the bleeding and things like that we're used to doing, and that's why it's going to be tricky. So we're just going to have to do our best to avoid the damage where we can. Make sure I've got the Ogrid oil on there, and then go from there. So here we are again. Just going to take this thing on. I'm actually just going to stick with these bombs. Let me have a look. Dragon's Dream, Grape Shot. Grape Shot won't really do much to them. but we can try this anyway, so. Right, so anyway, we've got everything active there. Just going to try and take this thing out again. Right, so this time we're going to try with the Dragon's Dream and see if we can burn it with that instead. Let's get it in that. But even that's not able to burn it, so that's why it's going to be really difficult. Lots of dodging, keep out of the way. And again, we've got a tiny bit of damage there, but not enough to do anything significant, and neither of those bolt types is going to inflict bleeding, so you have to be very careful. And just keep dodging. Keep a distance. Right, so we've just got to try and wear this thing down again. All this for a Gwent card. Anyway. Oosh. Ow. So, just going to get Erden on there. And then obviously avoid taking any hits where at all possible. And we are doing critical hits, so it must be again counting as raining, which is the supremely useful thing that the Superior Thunderbolt does. Just like keep Quinn up there. So we're going to get this thing slowed down, and then again get Aard to be able to get those hits in. So Piercing Cold does have its uses, even when you know, you're not able to stop the enemies in the tracks and deal that damage with it. So because of the freezing effect, it does really slow them down and let me get in a lot of hits like that. And again, with the high stamina regeneration, it's extremely useful to be able to do that. So it does have its merits, and hopefully it is going to still prove useful as I gradually wear this thing down. So it's going to take a lot of hits, but always good fun. Oof. Right, okay, so just want to keep Quinn up, and then you can see the massive difference. It's actually a lot easier if this thing is slowed down, but I just really need to be careful and patient and not taking any damage. So I'll keep it frozen and slowed down, and then I can just keep my distance when stuff like that happens and get a couple of hits in. So it is good that I can get a bunch of different hits in at once, so I'm able to get in at least one fast and one quick attack in every time. And I just got to be careful to keep Quen up whilst I do that. And the freezing effect does last quite a long time as well, which is very useful. So as long as I keep Quen up, I should be alright here. And it's actually much easier to fight it with the Aard sweep effect than it is with the Erden effect. So the Piercing Cold proving useful because it is slowing them down more than anything else in this particular encounter. So it's all about finding your tactics and trying to figure things out. And I'm just keeping my distance here, and you can see that that Griffin School techniques makes a massive difference with from before when I didn't actually even have my armor on. With what a difference it makes in terms of me being able to keep my Quen up and being able to get in the hits in between dodges. So that does make a huge difference. Particularly because Aard Sweep doesn't use the full stamina bar, as I've mentioned already. So you get that back almost straight away, and I can just keep Quen up that way. But yeah, a lot more difficult when you're not able to inflict the stuff like bleeding, and even poison blades isn't really having an effect here. Even though I think my oil has actually run out there, so let's have a try. Do I have the cyclops? I can never remember if they're relics or if they're not. Yeah, so giants are ogroids, yeah, I thought so. Just checking because obviously poison blades hasn't triggered at all, and that's could be down to using the wrong oil, but that's not the case here. Alright, so just taking these things out. I'll need to nip back into the menu, make sure that I keep everything active with the mutation and delayed recovery rather, which is not the mutation, that's just the ability, but okay, so keeping Quen up. And the slowdown is really making this, is what's making that fight possible, because otherwise it would be extremely difficult, but It's definitely a lot more manageable with that, so I'll wear it down a little bit at a time. Just keep going up at all times. And the combination, this is the thing about what's it called? The delayed recovery skill that is so powerful is like the superior potions have extremely deadly effects. So like you can see that the being able to critical hit every single time is making a huge difference because it's like, you know, vastly increasing the damage that I can do. And the thing that's extremely useful about that, as I just nip into the menu to replay my sword and apply a black blood if possible. The thing that's extremely useful about that is the critical hits, and if you're fighting a group of monsters, the other amazing thing is the superior blizzard always being active makes a massive difference to the amount of damage that you can deal. So we've got a ton of things working in unison here, and that's what you need to be doing to be able to win these kind of fights. So that is really interesting, and is a lot of fun that way. Just got Gwent active there, so we can afford to take a few shots. And the freezing has actually run out, so just want to be able to make sure that we keep Gwent up there. And then take this thing on. And the stamina regeneration is a very good substitute for, you know, a good approximation of what you would use instead of a tank build in this kind of hybrid or science-based build. So if you've got the stamina regeneration, you can always make use of it to be able to, you know, keep your defenses up and take it out. I mean, this thing is, to be perfectly honest, about probably 20 levels above me right now, which is why it's doing such a phenomenal damage if it catches me with a hit, and why it's taking so long for me to beat. And that's why I have to be so careful with it, because I mean, this quest is a level 24 quest normally in the game, so I'm, I think, level 36, and this quest is level 55, so it is almost 20 levels above me, and that's why you have to be so careful when you're fighting these kind of enemies, because this is not just a little bit above me, this is enormously higher above me. So it is doable when it's a single enemy, but it's hardly surprising that those alghouls are a bit much for me. I'm just going to have to dodge out the way there. That was a bit close. Shouldn't have really taken that risk. I switched to the wrong sign there by accident. So I'm doing 1362 damage there. And just need to reapply the oil. So that was 1362. And you can see that with the critical hit it does a ton more. So gradually wear it down. Got that slow down again. And take this thing down. That hit's really dangerous, the one where it sweeps all around you. The thing about giants and ogroids as well, and elementals, is that they can do different types of damage. Like one of the types of damage they can do is elementals have elemental damage from their wave attack, and they also have bludgeoning damage or monster damage. So you need quite a balanced set of resistances for them. And they're one of the very, very few enemies that you have to be a little bit careful with my Uber build. But not really, because that build doesn't have a lot of elemental resistance. But I mean, you can easily just mitigate that by switching to the Ursine trousers if you wanted against them. And then you'd have a bit of a balance of elemental and a little less bludgeoning, a little more elemental, so still possible. Okay, so we're just going to slow it down. Should be able to finish it off pretty soon. And just keep Gwent up there. And take this thing down. That attack actually hits from really far away as well, so you have to be careful of that one. Alright, so last little bit of toxicity top up, and that should take us all the way through to the end of this fight. which hopefully, if I'm being careful, will not take too long now. Yeah, got it. So, quite a protracted fight, but then again, if you're going to take on enemies that are 40 levels above you, or 20 levels above you rather, that's potentially going to be a problem. Can hear those alghouls, but fortunately they're not actually close enough to attack me. I can never, for the life of me, remember how you do this. Mash, light the fire, right lever, then the right lever, then the left. Okay. Anyway, that's that thing done, and then we'll just have the free chuff part of it to be able to do.
Got lucky. Bit of mash left. Here's
Right, so add the mash first.
done. Now to boil the mash.
Gotta grab this stuff. What did it say? Right first, then left? Is that boiling? No.
Ought to be enough. Time to cool it down.
Okay.
Well, well. Turns out I'm quite the distiller.
Sweet. Right, that's that bit sorted. Okay. Just going to fast travel here, and then before this quest starts, I'll probably meditate or just use the white honey again. Probably meditate because it's not really worth an alcohol to run out because I used a lot of potion uses in that one, and this is going to be another protracted fight. And then after I've done this, I will have the card that I want. A lot of hassle to go through for a card. This is not something I recommend doing usually. It's just I want to have the full Nilfgaard deck with the Spies and Relentless from as early as possible, which usually isn't something you can manage as easily.
Ugly bastard.
Right, so just going to get these. Not really much point killing these cows, but you could do. You sometimes get cow hides from them, but don't really feel like doing that right now, so. Just going to meditate here. Done it to 6 PM just in case I do lose delayed recovery. That'll at least let the Tawny Owl potion stay up, which is useful. Okay. Alright, so got all this stuff and sort this out. Alright. So we're just going to carry on with this bit. With his superbly helpful wolf.
Animal sacrifice.
Should we burn folk at the stake as they do on the continent? Better a sacrifice of goats and sheep.
Grab these feathers while we can. Right, so we've got a bunch of foglets to fight here, and again, they're going to be pretty tricky. But we will try our best. The dog helps a lot on this bit, because like I say, the dog will do a ton of damage to them, so there are the foglets. Pretty difficult because there are multiple ones of them to fight, but we'll try. Hopefully be able to do it. So gonna have to be pretty careful here, and again just keep Gwent up. Don't seem to be able to inflict burning on them, so again we'll just have to keep Gwent up and wear these things down. Now these are extremely dangerous enemies, so you have to be very, very careful with these. And I will have to diligently keep Gwent up, because otherwise this is going to be a problem. Alright, okay. This may be a little bit difficult, but oh well, we'll try it again. Where are they? You can see what I mean about the damage that the wolf deals with to them. So he can be extremely useful. And I've got the bleeding from that as well. As long as I just keep this thing away from Fuchov. And the wolf will deal a ton of damage. Oof, almost got hit there. But yeah, the wolf is a big help in this, so that makes it, can get some really solid hits on him. And be able to take it out. We're doing okay so far. Need to keep Gwent up. And you can see, especially with the range that Aard hits at, it's very useful for keeping these things heavily damaged and for stopping the foglets from being able to stay hidden, which is when they're at their most dangerous. So we can get the necrophage oil back on and keep the toxicity topped up. And Fuchov still hasn't taken any damage, so that's fine. I can put the Erden back up in case they get down here. Be able to hit these things whilst the wolf tries to take on that one. Although I've somehow put my sword away, which is unhelpful. Where are we at? I think one of the foglets just instantly died there as well, because you can see the slowdown from Blizzard. From the Blizzard potion, which is extremely useful. I'll go and get this foglet here. Just going to stand in that a little bit just to get the recovery. Not that it's really needed right now, but you never know. And then we're just going to try and hit these things again. Oof. Close to being hit there again. Okay, so took that thing out, and you can see there that when they actually do get knocked down, they can still get instantly killed by piercing cold, which is extremely useful. So always a good part of the piercing cold build there as well. And that did a big chunk of damage. Get a few good hits in. And should, I think, be getting pretty close to the end of this part. Oh no, we got another one. Ah, put my damn sword away. Trying to switch the signs. So I use the quick switch for the signs a lot of the time, and right there, that just instead I had put my sword away because I was actually out of combat whilst it waited for the 2 foglets to spawn in. So 3 foglets to fight here. Need to just be keeping Quen up. Take those things out. Free Chuff's still alright, none of them are near him, so that should be fine. Take these things out. And you see you can get quite a few hits in when they're frozen as well, so really powerful. And instant. It seems like the shadow foglets that they spawn count as enemies for being killed with blizzard, which is pretty useful because you're getting that stun effect from blizzard when we're killing those. So getting that really powerful thing there. Now they actually went to hit for each other, but he's still got full health, so we're doing alright. So, take these things out. I've got another few foglets here. But this one's on quite low health, so we'll be able to take this one out pretty soon. That one should die pretty quickly. Another couple to take out, good grief.
Storm, damn it.
Are these things dead yet? Yeah, they're dead. Right, cool, so that's that sorted. Awesome. Right, so managed to take those out. Again, quite a protracted battle, but never mind. No problems really. Love that wolf. You like that game Shadow Dancer where you had the wolf along with you on the 3rd Revenge of Shinobi game, I think it was? That'd be pretty cool. Anyway. Gonna pick up all this stuff. Not that I really need any of it, but 5th Essence I've already used for all the alchemy stuff because I've created pretty much everything, so I could always just sell some of those. They're worth a tiny bit to alchemists. You can sell them for a little bit, which is better than nothing. So right now I'm just going to go back to the fast travel marker, then find my way back to Gremist. Might as well keep my toxicity up. Not that I'm going to come across any enemies anytime soon, I don't think, but we have a notice board here as well. Yeah, we did. There's a really weird bug where sometimes you see that contract missing miners thing has come up. That can sometimes get stuck coming up with all of your quest objectives, which is really annoying. Usually the way to get around it is just to drop the offending item, and it should be alright. We'll see when I get in fact, I'll take this quest just so I can see.
What's this off? Make you
Okay.
I get you. I eat.
No.
If
Down.
Yeah, so that sorted it out, because that contract missing minus thing didn't come up underneath there, so that's fine. Alright. Now where was Gremist? He was over here. So we're just going to sort that out and get my mysterious elf card. Then I can go about doing the rest of it, which is pretty cool. Where are we at? Practicum in alchemy. Return to Gremist. With pleasure. Give me my card, you son of a gun. Came all this way and did quest that's 20 levels ahead of us purely for a Gwent card. Seems legit.
Did everything you were. The wretched. Wait, no.
Gremist's plan is just to get absolutely wasted. Seems like a good plan to me. Okay, so that's all that sorted. Really just want to play Gwent, to be honest.
Afraid very.
On we go. There won't be too many cards I'm actually missing after I've got this one that I really want. It's a pretty good deck. That's even better. Always want to make sure you put a higher strength card down before using the muster, and you always want to use the muster as soon as possible before you use any spies, because you don't want the spies to call in the other muster cards. You only ever want one of those in your deck, so you get the maximum effectiveness from it. Right. Still got a 1 card advantage there. I can bring that card back with the medic anyway. See what I can get him to play. He may be, in all likelihood, has some medic cards because he is the Nilfgaard deck as well. But we'll see. So the reason it's a problem if he has the medic card is because then he would play my own spy back against me. Yeah, which is what he's going to do now. They always play the spies. But at least we have a decoy to be able to take that. Get the lead again in number of cards shortly. See what I get from playing this time. Can afford to use a commander's horn here and waste some. So he's got some quite high scoring cards there. Well, he should be alright. I'm going to keep that decoy, obviously. He's took the wrong card back there because he should have taken the other one instead. Yeah, see, really, he's decoyed the wrong card there, because as much as that one is good, having the 10 strength, it's if he had played the young emissary one, then he would have doubled that one up, so that would have given him another 15 points instead. So, just going to maximize these. Then he's going to play the spy card, and I will play it back. Let's play Yen there as well. And hopefully he didn't get as scorched as that last one, but we'll see. So we'll get 2 cards here. If he gets one of them as scorched, then we might be in trouble, but we'll see. So unless he's got a decoy as his last card, I think we'll be alright. And he doesn't, so we win. Might as well pile them on because, let's face it, Grandmaster's a bit of a douche. Cantankerous old beggar. So, yeah, got all that sorted. And that will be the mysterious elf card. Which is awesome! Yeah. Best card ever. Right, so just add that to our deck. Are there any cards that we want to drop? See, the Gaunter cards become less effective the more spies you have. So I may want to drop those quite soon. Let me see what else. Could put the Zerricanium one back in. Let's keep it at 22 cards. So there are 1 or 2 cards I'm missing from my usual setup, so still missing the one of the ones that you get from Marquis Serenity. I don't want to start that just yet. We normally have Geralt and Ciri in there as well, instead of a couple of these cards. But it's a decent approximation of how the deck would look normally. And then we want to get the other spy card as well. We've got to beat Madman, and we've got to also beat Krach. So yeah, go and do that now. Then we'll be pretty much done with Skellige for a little bit. And I'll go back to what we want to do for the rest of it. Damn, I should have gone and played Madman first. Ah, that's irritating. Because then you're going to have to come back and play Schuster after that. Oh well, never mind. Never mind. Anyway, we'll come play this guy first. See if we can speak to these guys by the maps that they have. This guy's really awkward to talk to. He's only at very specific times and it's a pain in the neck, but
What do
you got any maps or anything to buy for quests? No, just the normal stuff. The Greater Runestones, I don't really need to be able to make those just yet, so we're not going to play him. Repair that stuff. Ah, yeah, I was going to play him. Right, let's play this guy because he's one of the ones who's really awkward to speak to sometimes, so I might as well beat him while I have the chance. I was actually going to save the rest of it for after I'd done high stakes, so I'll do high stakes and then be able to get the Relentless ability and then have pretty much the deck that I want. Okay, so with him playing Dandelion, might have to seed this first round. Interesting strategy choice there. Now when you're playing the Scoia'tael deck, you normally want to keep a decoy or a medic of your own because they will be able to medic back your spies when you play them a lot of the time. Let's try and bleed them out of some cards there. I'm just going to try and make them use up their cards and then try and win in the last round. They do have Milva there as well. They got Vil and a medic, so they'll medic back that spy card. It's great that they do that now because that's going to actually make it so that I can medic this back and lose the round and it not be a big deal. I'm fine with conceding this round whilst they play Dandelion there. Right, so they've got a pretty high score, but I still have a 1 card lead, and I have the Commander's Horn, which will let me get some good score in the next round. See what we can get with these. Okay, so you want to try and leave playing your highest scoring cards till last in case they do have a hidden scorch or anything like that. And that's allowed me to win that one there. Love the Nilfgaard deck for that, so even when it's not nearly at full strength here because we're missing Geralt and Ciri for a start, you can still win with it. A vampire card, which is a really good one if you're playing the monster deck. And then we'll go and play Krach. Let's buy these. These should be ones that we've had already. Oh no. Not had that either. So might as well do that just in case. And we'll play this guy again while we're here, because like I say, I don't want to be going round everybody afterwards. So whilst we're here, I'll play this dude. But I do want to have Relentless as early as possible, so got a nice little bonus there. Just going to hold off playing the Scorch until he's played another one, because there are quite a few 6-score siege cards, and so it can be very useful to wait in case they play another one like they have done just there. That's made them pass the round, which is useful. So if I play these two together, they would be 12, but if I play one of these, then these would be 16, so we'll go with this. Unless that happens. In which case I'll just take that back and then wait until the next round and try and win it like that maybe. They'll be able to see what they've got left. Got another impenetrable fog, and then they can score 5 points. So they're going to lose anyway, in fact. I should be able to win this. And they've got another impenetrable fog to play, but it's not going to make a difference because they don't have a Scorch to take out that 6 strength card, so they're going to lose easily. Okay, so another 1-1, and then I've just got to go and beat Krach. Beat Krach, and then beat that guy. What's he called? Mad person. That guy that we don't like. That dude, anyway. Not Mad-Eye Moody. That's Harry Potter. Madman Lugos. We'll go and beat him, and then we've got to come back here and beat Schuster, and then we're all done. And we can go back to Velen and carry on with the game, which will be the next episode. So I'll just finish off these bits first. Beat Krach. And then Madman. Alright. Lay him out. So we've got a spy there, which is good. And just call these in. Odd choice of weather cards, seems though I don't have any of those, but okay. And again, this is the good thing about the Nilfgaard deck. You can use the spies, and then you can play these powerful cards and then be able to medic them back, especially with your decoys. If you don't need the decoys or medics for spies, then you can always use them to replay your powerful cards. So you pretty much always have options if your deck's set up correctly, which is why it's fun. So I'll just get the points going here. Then even if he's able to win this round, I'll be able to bleed him out of cards and use these ones to resurrect these stronger cards and use the Commander's Horn, and should be able to win with a combination of those. That's an interesting tactic, because I have hero cards of my own. Calls in all the Arakas there. Now I could double these up, which would make him use a ton more cards, but I think what I'll do is I'll just leave it, and I should be able to win anyway, because he's used a lot of resources there. Especially like that. Nilfgaard wins all ties. Call this back in again. And so now effectively I can replay 3 cards and I can see what he's got as his last 3 as well. He's got an impenetrable fog and a couple of those, so you're going to score 21, but they're not able to stop my melee cards, so I'll be able to use those instead. So instead of calling this one back, I will just instead use my melee cards. They don't have a Scorch or a Biting Frost or any way to stop that. So that leader ability can be actually really useful. And we win the score by the same score that Baltimore trashed the Jets yesterday, so yeah. So you can tell when this was actually recorded, because it was the Friday after that Baltimore win, so not that I'm particularly a Baltimore fan, but you know, Lamar Jackson's pretty amazing. Anyway, that was very off topic. Let's go. Start all these Bear School quests and the Wolf ones there as well. Not that I'll be using those in this playthrough, but you know. Alright, now we can beat Schuster already, so that's good, so I don't have to fast travel away and back again. Alright. Been quite a long episode, but I mean the fight against the giant was and the deaths against the alghouls was probably about 20 minutes of it, but quite interesting nonetheless, I think. I hadn't realised just how high a level they were because I had come so early in the game. So like the actual starting quest, I think my starting level was 31. So when I actually came here at the start of this episode, I was level 34, I think. So the only reason I've gone up so many levels myself is just because of the fact that the quests I've been doing are so many levels ahead of me. I'm just going to go and beat Schuster. Just to give myself the option of using that Emir card if necessary. And I'll go and beat Madman. And then that'll be cool because the rest of the game I'll have the Nilfgaard, you know, pretty much the full deck. I need to get Geralt and Ciri, which are a little bit more dependent on the story quest because you have to progress Triss's quest a little bit to have met Dijkstra, but we'll be able to do that. So not much point having siege ones in this because he has the ability that'll actually take out the siege row, which is tricky. Might be having a bit of a spy war in this one, depending on how many spies he has. He has a really, really strong deck, actually, if I remember. He's one of the very, very few ones who has that 4th leader ability. Should have left that biting frost in. Oh well. Might get it back from playing this. Possibly. No, I didn't. Right, so how would I go about winning this? 45 points, that's going to take a lot of points to play. So I'd have a 3-card lead if I left it like that. But I also have 2 medics, so I might as well play these ones first. Make them use some more cards. Right, so if I take 18 off that, that's going to be 32. So it's still going to take me more cards than it's worth to win that game. So I've got a 2-card advantage. And an 8-point head start. No more decoys left, unfortunately. See if we can win this one. That's a bit unfortunate. At least I'll be able to see what he's got left after this. So he's got another Reaver. Just going to boost his score a bit more as well. Then he's only got the 1 point after that, so... So it depends what cards I get with my decoy, really, I think. Not decoy, yeah, spy, yeah. Okay, so we should be alright there. And these are where the tactics of Nilfgaard really comes into play, like how you can replay things and how you can use them with the medic. And how really, so those 0 and 1 point medics actually ended up, you know, getting me a ton of score there. Because I was able to replay the archers and gradually bleed them out of cards. And because you have the medics or decoys, you're always going to have one of them to be able to replay people's spies. Virtually all the time anyway, so that's pretty useful. Easy. Alright. That's a really good card. That's a useful one to have if you're using the Scoia'tael deck. Just going to put a marker on the map just to say that I still need to play this guy, because otherwise I might forget, because I've beaten everybody else who's here. Did I actually beat the Innkeep? I'm not sure. Let's have a look. So yeah, pretty long episode this, but I might as well you know, finish off these parts of it while we're here. And, you know, wrap up everything in Skellige that I want to do with the Nilfgaard deck. And then I'll have that available to use for the rest of the game. I'll probably start off the next episode by trying to see if I can do high stakes. or maybe I can do some of the Nilfgaard quests to be able to get the Ciri and Geralt cards before I do high stakes. So a bunch of things to consider there. But it'll be fun to have a completely, pretty much full Nilfgaard deck apart from the third spy, which is another random win. So hopefully get that sooner rather than later. And be able to show off how the Nilfgaard deck works properly when you're using it. Because like I say, it is a tactical and extremely powerful deck. And it's probably my favourite one to play. Because Northern Realms is extremely strong as well. They're pretty much 1A and 1B in, you know, whatever order you want to put them. But I just think the Nilfgaard deck is so consistent, it's so much fun that it's a really good one to use. Alright. Okay. Alright, so can't loot any of this stuff because otherwise it'll set the guards on you, but you can speak to Lugos and get his card. They've patched a lot of the things in the game, like if the Baron dies and you've not got his card, you can get his card, but as far as I'm aware, this guy is one of the guys who can actually still die in the story quests, and you need to have beaten him to get his card at the end of this quest beforehand, otherwise it is still missable. So got the Biting Frost card there, that's going to be useful. A couple other strong cards, a couple of medics and Scorch, that should be pretty useful. Let's see how we go with this. Now when they're playing this leader ability with the monster deck, you really Sorry, microphone issue there. You really want to be trying to get them to use that as soon as possible. So like if I can sort of bait him into using it here, then that'll be useful. Okay. It's got Torrential Rain there just to take that out. Now what I really want to be doing is getting him to use the leader card, and so I don't want to use the Biting Frost before I do that, but it's going to be a little tricky at the minute, so I'm just going to use the Biting Frost there. That at least makes him use the Not sure if I'm going to be able to win this, but I may be able to. Now, one of the other things that I don't actually have yet is the Villain Tretameth card, which would normally be extremely useful. So part of the effectiveness of this Nilfgaard deck is having Villain Tretameth, but I don't have that yet. And the reason it's good is it's particularly good against the monsters. Like if I had it there, I'd be able to do a whole heap of damage to those. So we're going to pass this one and then make them use more cards if they want to beat me. And then he really won't have that many left to be able to beat me otherwise. In fact, he's run out of cards already, so easy win. Again, it's all about tactics and replaying things with the medic, so just to add insult to injury, I'm just going to beat him. 0-0, 4 cards left. Don't be such a douchebag, because Nilfgaard wins all ties, which is pretty cool. So
Dying to gut ye. But then they'd say Lugos had gone even madder. Take my Catacan and sword off.
ha! Numpty. So yeah. Trashed him as well, and again that's the sort of way you use the tactics of the deck, and that's why it's a fun deck to play. So yeah, pretty good. Alright, okay, so I've still a bunch of random players to play, and at some point I'll need to get the to do that to get the third spy card, but right now I've finished everything I wanted to do there. Got that I've got that leader card, which is kind of cool. And yeah, just got to start on big city players, so I'll go and do that. Or I might leave that until a little bit later actually, and I might actually try and do high stakes without the Geralt and Ciri cards, which might be a little bit tricky, but might also be possible, so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, next I can go and visit Triss, maybe, if I wanted to progress to the point where I meet Dijkstra. I might do that next, because as much fun as high stakes is, you want to give yourself as much chance as possible of winning it. And I could really use the Geralt and Ciri cards and the Dandelion cards, which means I'll have to have done a matter of life and death first. Because that's a useful part of the deck. And I could do with Villain Tretameth as well, because otherwise it's going to be pretty tricky to do that. So might have to maybe do that as well beforehand. So right, we've got to go back to Velen, we've got visiting Triss if we want, and then we've got the quests for the Baron and everything else. So, where is high stakes? Have I not got high stakes? That's weird. Oh, there it is. Yeah, because it's such a high level quest. Oh well. Alright, so I'm just going to leave it there. I may do 1 or 2 Gwent games off stream as well, try and get Villain Tretameth or the third spy, so that I can do high stakes as quickly as soon as possible. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that episode. Decent use of the Piercing Cold on some very, very high level quests, which was quite fun. And we've got the Nilfgaard deck pretty well set up as well, so I can use that for the rest of the game. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, then please, if you're watching back on YouTube and you've stuck through to the end of it, please like, comment and sub, as it does help me out. I really appreciate it. Alright, well thank you everybody for watching. Have a good day on the path.